Hey there NBA fans! Today we're gonna explore a fascinating what-if scenario. What if Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway had stayed healthy? These two players were incredibly talented and showed a lot of promise in the 90s, but injuries cut their careers short. Hey, welcome to Downward Dog, where we bring you the most mind-boggling scenarios. Subscribe now and join our community. In this video, we're gonna explore 5 different scenarios and imagine what could have happened if they had never suffered those injuries. First up, let's talk about Grant Hill. He was a do-it-all forward with incredible ball handling skills, a sharpshooter from mid-range, and a tenacious defender. In his prime, he was one of the most versatile players in the league and a perennial all-star. Although ankle injuries derailed his career and he was never quite the same player again. If he'd stayed healthy, he could have been one of the greatest players of all time. Next, let's talk about Penny Hardaway. He was a dynamic point guard with incredible ball handling skills, a deadly mid-range jumper, and a flair for the spectacular. He was a 2-time All-NBA first-team selection and one of the best point guards of his generation. However, knee injuries cut his career short, and he was never able to play at the same level again. If he had stayed healthy, he could have been a perennial MVP candidate and one of the greatest players of all time. Now that we've established who Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway were, let's dive into the top 5 scenarios. Scenario 1. Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway on the same team. Both players were incredibly talented and versatile, and if they had played together, they could have formed a dynamic duo that would have been almost unstoppable. Imagine the Orlando Magic or the Detroit Pistons with both Hill and Hardaway on the roster. That would have been a force to be reckoned with. In this scenario, let's say that Hill and Hardaway joined forces on the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic were already a playoff team with Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal, but adding Hill to the mix would have made them almost unbeatable. Hill's all-around game and versatility would have complemented Hardaway's scoring and playmaking, and the two of them could have formed one of the best backcourts in NBA history. With Hill and Hardaway leading the way, the Magic could have won multiple championships. They would have had the perfect mix of talent, chemistry, and coaching to dominate the league for years to come. Who knows, maybe they could have even convinced Shaq to stay in Orlando instead of leaving for LA. Scenario 2. Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway in the Jordan and Kobe era. They could have been rivals or teammates, but either way, it would have been incredible to see them compete at the highest level against some of the greatest players of all time. In this scenario, let's say that Hill and Hardaway enter the league in the early 90s and stay healthy throughout their careers. They would have played against some of the best players of all time, including Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Tim Duncan. Hill and Hardaway would have been all-stars every year, and they could have even won MVP awards and championships. It's tough to say which team they would have played for, but let's imagine a scenario where Hill and Hardaway end up on the same team, maybe the New York Knicks or the Chicago Bulls. They would have been a perfect fit with Hill's all-around game and Hardaway's scoring and playmaking. Playing against Jordan and Kobe would have been a challenge, but Hill and Hardaway were no slouches. They would have relished the opportunity to compete against the best, and could have even come out on top in some matchups. Scenario 3. Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway's longevity. In this scenario, they avoid the injuries that cut their career short, and are able to play and maintain their high level of play well into their twilight years. This scenario is interesting because it's tough to say how the games would have evolved over time. Would Hill have become a stretch 4 or a lockdown defender? Would Hardaway have become more of a facilitator or a scorer? It's tough to say, but one thing is for sure, they would have continued to be dominant players well into their 30s and 40s. Hill and Hardaway could have been veteran leaders on their teams, passing down their knowledge and skills to younger players. They could have even become coaches or analysts after retiring from the NBA, continuing to contribute to the game they loved. Scenario 4. Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway on the Dream Team. The Dream Team is widely regarded as one of the best basketball teams of all time, with a roster that included Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird, among others. But imagine if Hill and Hardaway had been on the team as well. It would have been a sight to see. Hill and Hardaway would have fit right into the Dream Team style of play, with their athleticism and versatility. They could have contributed both on offense and defense, and would have made for a deadly combination on the fast break. Playing on the Dream Team could have even given Hill and Hardaway more exposure and elevated their status as two of the best players in the world. It's tough to say if they would have won gold with the Dream Team, but one thing's for sure, they would have left a lasting impact on the world of basketball. Scenario 5. Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway's legacy. Finally, let's imagine what Hill and Hardaway's legacy would be if they had stayed healthy. Would they be remembered as two of the greatest players of all time, or would they be forgotten in the annals of basketball history? If they had stayed healthy, Hill and Hardaway could have been remembered as two of the greatest players of their generation. They could have won multiple championships, MVP awards, and other accolades, and their impact on the game of basketball would have been immeasurable. Their legacy would have been even greater if they had become ambassadors of the game, using their platform to give back to their communities and inspire the next generation of basketball players. So there you have it, 5 different scenarios of what could have happened if Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway had stayed healthy. It's fascinating to think about what could have been, and it just goes to show how much injuries can impact a player's career. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to show your support by giving it a like and sharing it with others. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss out on any of our upcoming videos. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.